Friends, family, fans. It's another episode of Back Nine Bets, episode 48. Power Hour, presented to you by rotoballer.com. Go to rotoballer.com/radio, get yourself 50% off the whole shebang over there. Use code MANIAC for 10% extra off. Go do it now. How the heck are you guys doing? It's going to be a great episode. Going to a little bit different. Got a bingo card. We got Power Hour. I've got a Pebble Beach shirt on that my wife almost threw out. It is on a pile of choose and choose nots that I had to go dig out today. So it almost made its way out the door, but it did not. And we are wearing it, and it's got a special story to it. So before we get into golf, I was at a bar in college wearing a South African shirt. In fact, if you're watching the video, that South African shirt right over here is the South African Rugby Springbok shirt. I'm a big Springbok fan. Obviously, I'm from South Africa. And I was in the bar in a small town in Oskaloosa, Iowa. And some guy walked up to me and said, I'll give you $100 right now for that shirt, off your back. Gave me a clean, crisp $100. And now I was in college. That's like half my stipend for the month. So I definitely took that offer. Didn't have a shirt, obviously, because I gave him the one I was wearing. Gave me his shirt. He was rocking this sweet-ass Pebble Beach shirt. It's a Pebble Beach logo. Look at this thing. Can't really see the logo. I promise you now it's Pebble Beach. It's a sweet shirt. It's super cozy. It's super comfortable. Bit of a little mock turtleneck type vibe. But it is what it is. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that's the story behind the Pebble Beach shirt. You can only wear it once a week, once a year. So this is the week to do it. Back Nine Bets, episode 48. We're almost at 50. Going to have to do a little $50 giveaway or something in 2 weeks' time. It's going to be fun. So we got a bingo card going on. Let's get to the bingo card here. Let's find out what's going on here. We've got a little bingo action going on. This is a power hour. So we've got drinks to be had. We're going to have a blast. I've got myself my whiskey glass with the golf ball ice cube. Cheers to that. And here's the bingo card. We've got 24 squares. Anytime this week or this podcast that the Spieth Cliff shot gets mentioned, Seamus Power meltdown like he did last year, small greens, 3-course rotation, misnamed celebrity, Bill Murray cheating, driving accuracy, 2027 US Open venue, Tiger's shot under the tree, birdie or better percentage, wedges, jabronis, 7th hole equals iconic, Gary Woodland US Open, short game's important, coastal course is windy, no shot leg data for 2 of the 3 rounds, flashback floods too recently, no top 10 players in the field, stars and scrubs, where's Daniel Berger, good power putters, Tom Hoagie, and strong course history. That's basically what you need to know for this week. So we'll check it out. That's kind of the bingo card. Take a screenshot now. Do whatever you need to do. It's on my Twitter too. It's in my articles. Follow along. Use it for some drinks tonight. Use it for just fun viewing over the week. Let's check that, what's cooking. So let's get into some key stats here. The course is a 3-course rotation. We just mentioned that. So cheers. Power hour, there's the first one. It's a 3-course rotation. We've got ourselves a golf course that I think rewards driving accuracy a lot more than the stats are telling us. It doesn't reward distance at all. It's in fact minus 5% correlation compared to tour average. So distance, not important off the tee, slightly less important than tour average, but accuracy off the tee, essential. Approach play, critical. It's basically a second shot golf course. Also, when it comes to a approach play, love the story. Spent 3 years in Pretoria, Silver Lakes. Yes, that's where Oscar Pistorius that's where Oscar Pistorius shot his girlfriend through the door on Valentine's Day there, Ted. So, yeah, three years in Pretoria. I'm sure you thoroughly enjoyed yourself there. My main man, Sia Najad. Hey, first time, long time. Has anyone brought up the Spieth Cliff shot yet? Just curious. Man, that was nuts. It was, Sia. I tell you what, what was he doing? He was having his own little power hour, I'm telling you now. So Spieth's Cliff shot, absolutely quite epic. But let's get back to the approach stats here that we need to talk about. Very important to have approach stats this week. I think it's basically a second shot course. We've got all that going for us. You're also going to be hitting irons off the tee, which is essentially another approach type metric that you're going to be looking at. So I've weighted some 200 125 to 250 proximity numbers into my model because those are the shots you're going to be hitting off the tee. Putting, important, 4% more than tour average in correlation-wise. It's almost the same as approach this week. So if you can putt on these power greens, you are in business. Around the green, also important, small greens. But hey, small greens, bing, bing, bing. Putting on Boa, bing, bing, let's go. It is power hour. We aren't messing around here, folks. So I've got half the bingo card memorized because I put it together myself. So that's what's cooking there on the main stats. Then you're looking at some approach numbers. We've got ourselves a casual 35% of shots coming from 100 to 120 to 150. That is what you call wedge range. Cheers to you. As you can see there, the 100 to 125 is a casual 9% more than tour average, which is quite a significant margin. And you want guys that are going to be good from that range. The rest of the range is all pretty normal, except for 150 to 200, where they're quite significantly less. So this is a small golf course. We're going to see a lot of these wedges coming into play this week. What are we cooking here for the model? Because we did all of these things, this is what the model settings look like. We've got ourselves 25% of 2023 stats cooking, 75% of 2022. Course history is kind of important here. You see a lot of guys that have played well here before do some good stuff. So we got 10% of that in there. Official World Golf ranking for 10%. And then we just got a recent form for 2023 for 10%. The remaining is the 70% of stats that are in this box right over here. Of those 70%, 43% is total approach. We've got 15% for total driving accuracy, mainly. We've got good drives gained. We've got 3% for specific off the tee, which is strokes gained off the tee at courses less than 7,200 yards on par 72s and par 71s. We want to see guys that are good at gaining strokes off the tee on those shorter golf courses. We got around the green for 9%. Total short game is 30%. I've ramped up the total short game big, big time. We are going to definitely see the short game is going to be impacted the most by a bunch of jabronis because we are playing a pro-am and we've got jabroni celebrities just walking over lines. So let's take ourselves a little sip for power hour. Shout out to Sia, jabroni time. Let's see what's cooking. We got power percentage. We got 5 to 15 feet percentages. We got all the percentages coming in hot and heavy. And that's basically it. That's the preview. That's the prelude. Let's get ourselves into the model. Let's see what's cooking here. As always, I've got myself looking sexy on the camera. We've got Tom Hoagie looking sexy at the top of the leaderboard. And this is the situation we're looking at here, folks. Earlier, we had a scenario where DraftKings decided to post the most random, absurd, mispriced lines out there. So there was a Tom Hoagie, there was Victor Hovland, Jordan Spieth, and Matty Fitzpatrick all sitting at plus money for top 20. So hopefully you guys jumped onto that. I am on Matt Fitzpatrick for a top 20. He is at plus 105 earlier. If you go and jump into the Discord that we're doing on Rotoballer, we put that out there and it was a sneaky little find. So it's a nice little reason to get into that Discord so you can kind of take a quick look at what we're doing this week. But we'll get to Matty Fitz here soon. Tom Hoagie, number one guy in the model because if you take a look at his weighted proximities over the last 2 years, he leads the field. The guy is incredible from all the ranges that matter, particularly to the wedges. If you go back to last week, by the way, Tom Hoagie's on the cheat sheet for bingo. Cheers. This power hour is going smooth. Weighted proximities, he's number one in the field. Just general approach play, he's number two. When you're looking at 2023's season, he's the best approach player in the field. We've got Victor Hovland. We've got Jordan Spieth. We've got Russell Knox is sitting in fourth. We've got dogs barking. We've got all sorts of stuff going on. They love a Tom Hoagie as the number one in the model. He's sitting at 20% ownership, which is kind of crazy to think about when we got Matty Fitz over here, but it does make sense when you look at his safety plus top 10 percentage combined. He's sitting at 64%, which is not necessarily that good. But he does absolutely set up well for this course. He's obviously won it here before. We know all of that. That's basically with 45% total approach. That's why Tom Hoagie's number one in my model. He's just been on fuego. I mean, the around the green play is a little sketchy for him, but he's so good on approach, you can kind of get away with all of that. So love ourselves some Tom Hoagie, especially at 20% ownership. I think this week, I'm not going to necessarily even try and get double on the field. I'm just going to pretty much play all of these guys. I think they're all going to land up being in contention in the 10K range. I may land up fading Jordan Spieth. I don't know why. I have this addiction to fade the number one popular dude in the week. He doesn't grade out the best for me in my model. He doesn't, and he's one of the most popular guys. I know the course history is phenomenal, but if you take a look at his like safety and top 10 rating, it's outside of the 100% there. He's making only 68% of his cuts, and 26% of them are top 10s, which Matty Fitz has got him by 50%. He's sitting at 50% for his made top 10s there. So he's definitely the safer player, and I can think he's $500 cheaper. So if you're looking for some Matty Fitz love, you're going to get it from me this week. I think he's a great player this week. $10,100. The safety plus top 10 rating is the best in the field. So this guy, super safe player. If you're looking for safety, top 10s, he's your dude. Third best in the field in his 8 rounds he's played so far for strokes gained total. He plays medium courses and things like that particularly well. That's what his skill set is. He's incredible when it comes to playing tough golf courses. And hopefully the wind blows this week and we can see some Matty Fitz doing his thing. So we got some wind. And yes, Sia says he's also fading Spieth this week because I don't know, Sia, what's but you're also fading Fitzy, which, hey, you got to pick your battles. I think I'm taking a leaf out of DFS Sweet Spot's book when I had him on my podcast a while ago, and he said he's not necessarily worried about going 2x on the field when it comes to these top guys. If you think there's 2 different approaches you can do. You can go with fading these 2 dudes at the top, or you can just sprinkle them in and overlap each other, kind of have a Tom Hoagie and a Jordan Spieth, or a Matty Fitz and a Hoagie. That way you've got these 2 dudes that are going to be part of the optimal lineup in your player pool. I don't know, one of them's probably going to miss the cut, maybe. You don't even know what's going to cook there, but it's a good idea, I think, at an event like this, it's super top heavy, to get exposure to all 4 of these dudes at the top. Particularly, I'm leaning towards a little Tom Hoagie action, although he's very risky. So maybe we don't fade Spieth, maybe we do, but I think we are leaning towards, if we do land up not playing one of them, it will be Jordan Spieth, because I think he's just a popular play from the public, and everything about his game is telling me he's the least likely to have success here, according to my sexy little model that we're looking at here. So that's what's cooking there with Matty Fitz. We got to bring up the banner one more time. I've spent a lot of time doing all this. So Matty Fitz, he's sitting at like minus 150 now. So definitely go and check out the Discord if you guys are interested in that. It's where it's going. PGA Premium Discord. We got next up, third in the model, Victor Hovland. He is also one of the best on approach. He's second in weighted proximity. He's sensational when it comes to making birdies. He's also pretty spectacular when it comes to gaining off the tee on these tough courses that we're looking at here. When it's under 7,200 yards, you think he's a guy that succeeds on these venues that require long bombers. But when you're looking for a little love from Matty Fitz, when you're looking for some love from Victor Hovland, he's actually quite impressive off the tee when it comes to these short courses. So that's what's kind of getting him up here. His accuracy is not terrible, and the short game seems like it's been improving. Lately, he's around the green play. Check at this. It's 18th in the field. When you take a look at his baseline, oh boy, it's 157th. I think there's 156 guys in the field. That's just how bad it is. I do have a few guys in the model that I haven't quite booted yet because it's been a busy week. Give me a break. So yes, let's get Ted here. There are 0 top 10 players in the field this week, just because we have to get rid of that bingo slot there. So cheers to Ted. No top 10 players this week, folks. And my main man, Sweet Spot DFS, in the house. He loves himself some Matty Fitz this week, and I do too. I think he's a great, safe and upside play. Kind of all the shebang. He was in one of my lineups I had that crushed last year this time. So let's keep on scooting down. Victor, the guy's great when it comes to making birdies. I think he's a fantastic DFS play. Going to be scoring a bunch, does great on medium golf courses. Everything off the tee looks fantastic, the weighted approach, and he can make putts in a heartbeat. So that's what's cooking with Vic. I absolutely love him this week a lot more than Spiethy, and that's okay. Next up, we've got an absolute wild card sitting in fourth in the model. A little Matt Kuchar action. Yeah, Matt Kuchar, folks, is fourth in the model. He's $9,400, sitting around about 10% owned this week. Why is Matty Kuchar all the way up here with us? Well, if you take a look at his 18 rounds he's played in the 2023 season, he's entering the week with the fifth best strokes gained total. And the majority of that is coming from a rejuvenated approach game that's sitting at 13th in the field. You don't typically think of Matt Kuchar as a guy that excels on approach, but he is one of these dudes that's kind of found himself a little bit of a renaissance in the later part of his career. And we're seeing himself do some fantastic things. If you look at his weighted proximity numbers and general approach play, it's 53rd and 62nd baseline. But recently, he's been cooking with the irons. I don't think he's lost on approach since he's played a single tournament. We saw him at the Sony, absolutely crushed it. And he made the first 3 holes he opened with bogeys, made 3 consecutive bogeys to start his tournament, and still finished 7th at the end of the week. So the guy absolutely surged up the leaderboard after shooting himself in both feet, or 3 feet, on those 3 holes. And I love ourselves some Matty Kuchar this week. So much so that we've got Matt Kuchar when the odds went rogue. We got Matt Kuchar at plus 200 on DraftKings for a top 20. I love him here for a top 20. He makes an appearance inside the top 20 32% of the time that he's teeing it up, which is fine. And I think at this golf course, he's going to have a better chance to do that too, especially sitting at 4th in the model, playing the good golf that he is right now. And we like him and don't like Taylor Pendrith as much as we should. So we're actually playing a matchup against Taylor Pendrith on FanDuel for minus 118 there. So we've got 2 bets on Matt Kuchar. We kind of really taking advantage of his little approach resurgence here. We know that his resurgence on approach kind of matches up with a nice rhyming word there that he's a surgeon on and around the greens. And that's what Matt Kuchar's specialty really is at the end of the day. So we know he's going to be playing fantastic putts, fantastic chips, fantastic bunker shots. Everything about Matt Kuchar's short game is exactly what you're looking for. He's actually the best around the greens in the field if you're looking at a long-term baseline. So that's why he's 4th in the field in the model, and $9,400, 10% owned. Hello, Matt Kuchar. Sign us up for some of that in our DFS world. We're all about Matty Kuchar this week. So let's go. Spoken about Jordan Spieth. Why doesn't the model like him that much? Well, in his 10 rounds he's played so far, he led the field after round 1 in the Sony and then missed the cut. So he did so by just doing what Jordan Spieth does. He's a maestro. He's a magician. But sometimes the magic tricks run out of props. And it turned out that Friday was one of them where he didn't quite manage to cut the chick in half properly. So there was blood everywhere. Everyone on Twitter was having a nightmare. Jordan Spieth he's just one of those guys. But his course history here, 4th in the field. He's played fantastic golf at Pebble. But he's just out of control. The guy is he's standing on the edge of a cliff, hitting any approach shot you can think of. And I think, if you're going to fade a guy for just being a reckless dumbass, we've been watching that 90s show. So old Red Foreman would definitely tell Jordan Spieth he's a dumbass a lot of the time. And I think he's the biggest dumbass of the top boys here at the top of the board. So he's definitely inconsistent, Ted. I totally agree with you. And I think that's going to be a reason why we jump on with Sia and fade the guy this week. I think we like a lot of other dudes. Next up, Brendan Todd, 6th in the model. Yeah, this guy checks a lot of boxes. He, in fact, is one of the best wedge players in the field too. That's what his weighted proximity is. Cheers. Spieth cliff shot. Cheers, folks. Power hour, powering through this thing. I may run out of whiskey. Who the heck knows? So Brendan Todd, 6th in the model, $7,900, 10% owned. His safety rating is one of the betters. He's actually better than Spieth when it comes to making cuts in his 24 rounds that he's played in our model. And his strokes gained total for 2023 is definitely a good positive to have here. He's 11th in the field when it comes to recent form. He's around the green plays phenomenal. He's a great putter. And his irons have just kind of taken a bit of a turnaround. So if you look at his general approach play, it's 63rd when it comes to baseline. But he's sitting at 23rd in the model. And that's why we like ourselves a little Brendan Todd. And in fact, we like him so much that we bet him for a plus 280 for a third of a unit for a top 20 on DraftKings. Now, when we come to betting in events like this, it's a 3-course rotation with a bunch of jabronis, and it's just volatile. I don't trust the fact that the model's going to predict exactly what's going on. There's additional variables that we have to deal with this week compared to the normal week that has far too many variables for my liking in the first place. So I couldn't resist to actually try and pounce on that Matty Fitz bet. So that's why we went for 2 units on Matty Fitz there, because I just think that line is just ridiculous. Plus money for Matt Fitzpatrick, who's finishing top 20 at a 70% clip at a golf course that really suits his game and playing style. I felt like that was a great opportunity to pounce there. But for the rest of these bets, we're only doing a third of a unit. I'm not necessarily trying to risk too much going on these guys at an event like this, where you've got Bill Murray hitting putts when it's not his turn, kicking them in, cheating, doing the whole thing. So cheers to Bill Murray doing illegal things on the golf course and making everybody laugh. So we got Brendan Todd plus 280 to finish inside the top 20 on DraftKings. Let's rock and roll. He's going to be $7,900. If you're gonna give me a guy that's $7,900 that's sitting with a safety rating of 71% made cuts, let's freaking go, folks. I don't know why you wouldn't want to play a guy like that in DFS. So everything about his game: putting, 4th in the field in putting, 5 to 15 feet, 3rd in the field, bogey avoidance, 23rd. He putts 19th best in the field when it comes to POA. So everything about his game, around the greens, he's 27th, great out the rough. Everything about Brendan Todd's game makes a lot of sense. And he's actually playing a lot better than he normally does. So we'll see what he can get up to. I think he's making a bit of a resurgence too. Andrew Putnam, $9,700, one of the most insanely priced golfers in the field this week. He's 7th in the model. He is 19% owned, which compared to the guys that are sitting around him, we got some whiskey burps going on here, but we got Maverick McNeely at 27% at $9,600. We got Seamus at 28% ownership. So Andrew Putnam, to me, especially that he's ranked above these other guys for us, I think he's on one of the best cut streaks in the PGA Tour right now. I think he's sitting at like 14 if he makes the cut this week, and he's got 3 rounds to do it, which is another reason why we have ourselves a casual Andrew Putnam top 20 bet here. We've also got him to win the whole goddamn event. So 33-1, we have him to win, and plus 165 on DraftKings to finish inside the top 20, which Andrew Putnam does at a 17% clip. Now, he's done that in 29 starts. If you take a look at his recent performance, those top 20s are rolling in a lot more, and I think that 17% is definitely there because of what he's done recently. So his game is absolutely trending in the right direction. The last 23 in 2023, he's 13th in the field when it comes to strokes gained total. Everything about his game is looking really nice apart from being off the tee. He loses strokes in a major way off the tee. Guess what? He does that because he sucks off the tee with distance. And this week, we saw in the key stats that distance isn't that big of a deal. We're going to enjoy his accuracy. Look at this accuracy off the tee for freaking, whatchamacallit. I'm starting to get these lines are getting squiggly on me, but he's 19th in the field when it comes to accuracy. Now, the 150th of special off the tee stuff, that's from a while ago. This is from the last 50 rounds played on these types of courses. Recently, his off the tee stuff got a lot better with accuracy. He's always been an accurate guy. Very tidy around the greens. Very good when it comes to putting from 15 to 20 feet. Also nice on POA and avoids bogeys at a drastic rate. 10th in the field when it comes to bogey avoidance. So everything about Andrew Putnam this week screams like he's going to have a good week. It's looking like a great week for us. And 33-1 for Andrew Putnam. We've been on him a lot, and he was T4 at the Sony. He was T2 at the Zozo. So this guy's been frequenting the leaderboard. I think at the RSM, he went into the Sunday with the lead. So I definitely like Andrew Putnam for a matchup too. I think he's sitting sexy there. I think he's a very consistent guy. If you find him in a matchup that definitely promotes some sort of volatility on the guy that you're going up against, I think you can easily just win this matchup by Putnam finishing inside the top 30. So we'll see what's cooking. 33-1 was a very nice number. I think Putnam finished T6 here last year or T7. So he's got great course history. I think he was in the final pairing going into Sunday. Let's see what he's doing. You know, he's been finding himself at the top of the leaderboard a lot more than he has been. And I think he's starting to become a little more comfortable. And we've spoken about how these good putters struggle to perform on a Sunday because the hole just becomes that much smaller. Whereas when you're a good iron player, things can really, you can rely on that, a a 2-inch miss with irons is not the same as a 2-inch miss with putter. That's kind of the gist of the argument we're making there for why approach is typically king. It's a lot easier to rely on your long game under pressure than it is when you're trying to chip and putt. It's just a little more nervy that way. So that's my assessment of that situation. Here we go with Mark Hubbard. We got a situation with Mark Hubbard, an 8th in the model ranking. Man, we'll pull one out for homie. We got stabbed in the foot by his daughter a while ago. We're always going to talk about that on this show. He's $7,000 on DraftKings, and I don't know. Mark Hubbard's approach play is just far too good for the results that we have been seeing from him. I don't know what's going on with his game. I really wanted to bet him at I think he was like 150 to 1, but I'm just sick and tired of his nonsense. I'll play him a little bit in DFS. I don't think I'm too excited about a Mark Hubbard bet in general. He's just too risky, but I'll enjoy his volatility from a DFS perspective. Sweet spot DFS, my boy. Who would you rather anchor around in DFS? Fitz and Cooch or Fitz and Putnam? Ooh. So I have an instant response to that, and I feel like it's going to be Fitz and Putnam because I was looking at Cooch's recent history here, and even when Cooch has been playing well back in the day, not like he is now, he wasn't quite up there. He wasn't necessarily doing the things that we were looking for from a course history's perspective. He wasn't inside the top 10 at this venue. Putnam, we know, he's been in top 10s recently. He's been top 10 here last year. So I'm kind of liking a little bit of a Cooch and a Putnam and Fitz pairing to anchor around from a safety perspective too, because I think Putnam's just a lot safer. We never know when Cooch's old age is going to kick in, and it could be any minute. The AARP card could get brought out at any moment, and he could make his way onto the Champions Tour. I'm not sure how far away from that he is. So, yes, thanks for the question there. I think it'll be interesting, but I don't mind spread. I don't know if I'm going to anchor around either of them, but I'll definitely have some Cooch going in there. I'm not going to not play him this week. That's for sure. So, Matthew Neesmith. Let's talk about a little Matthew Neesmith this week. 9th in the model. We had Matthew Neesmith roll out on the odds board at 100 to 1, folks, to win this tournament. And we are in on that. We love ourselves some Matthew Neesmith. What about his game is appealing to us? The fact that he's got a great course history here, 7th in the field when it comes to course history strokes gained. His approach play is 6th in the field in 2023. His weighted proximity numbers are a little sketchy, actually. But he's actually a really good approach player in general. So we'll kind of ignore that because, we kind of bias for a 100 to 1 ticket. But when it comes to everything else about his game, nothing too flashy on the short game side of things, but we've seen what he can get up to recently. And in his 25 rounds that he's played in the 2023 season, the putter has kind of bounced back a little bit. So we like ourselves a Matthew Neesmith. Actually, as you can see, it's a Matthew Neesmith. And I'm not entirely sure who that is or what that is, but I think it's a Star Wars reference that my subliminal messaging was trying to get to you guys. We also like him enough and don't like Taylor Pendrith enough that we're going to go to him over Taylor Pendrith at even money as a matchup for the tournament. And I like that because if you take a look at Taylor Pendrith's recent results, it's all sitting outside the top 40. Matthew Neesmith has missed the cut on the number for the last 3 events, but prior to that, the guy was sizzling. So definitely go to Matthew Neesmith there in a matchup. We're going to rock and roll with him when it comes to the top to win this event, dudes. I think he's going to do wonderful things. He was right in the mix the 3 events before Christmas, I believe. And if he can, have bounced back from that, we'll definitely enjoy some love at 100 to 1. I think that's something we're really looking forward to. And his recent approach play is just too good to ignore. And his recent form is also just too good to ignore. I know we had those 3 missed cuts. It is what it is. Maverick McNeely, 10th in the model, $9,600, 27% owned. Let's see what he gets up to. He's one of those guys that he's been playing great golf. 23 tournaments he's played in. He's made 83% of the cuts. 13% top 10 rate, though. He doesn't make a lot of top 10s for a guy that's going to be 27% owned. And I know my man, Sweet Spot DFS, taught me you want to target guys that will provide you with that top 20 magic number. And if you're going to ask me between Maverick McNeely and Seamus Power, I'm going to go to Seamus Power. He's almost had double the amount of top 20s than Mav has. And I know the course history here is rather impressive for Mav. I mean, he's third when it comes to course history, but you have to remember that you're leaning on Maverick McNeely's putter. That's what's getting the damage done. And we've spoken about just recently when it comes to Andrew Putnam. Maybe that's the reason why he doesn't necessarily contend on Sundays when things get nervy. And that could be the same reason why Mav is in this position too. Now, his dad's a billionaire. Yeah, he's a pilot as well now, Mav. I think he's finally got all the miles he needs. I think he flew for the first time in a while and kind of took, I think you agree with me there, Sweet. I think Maverick is not going to necessarily make the player pool over Seamus if I were to pick two guys to go for. So Sia's in the house saying full fade for Mav, fully fade him last week as well. Yeah. What did he do last week? I can't quite remember. I think he's been playing good golf, and I think the putter is the thing that he leans on. And if that goes astray, and it can very easily, just a few short putts here and there on these power greens, it's a big price to pay for 27% ownership at this rate. So we know that Seamus played well here last year, and we know now look at Seamus's approach play. This is the problem with him too. He's so inconsistent. He'll just rattle off 4 rounds in a row in a tournament where he just gains over a stroke around on approach, and then out of nowhere he'll just lose 4 strokes. Just lose back to back rounds in an event, still somehow make the cut. The rest of his game is fantastic. He's just a scorer. He's one of the few guys that's, if you ramp up the birdie or better or bogey avoidance rates, par 5 scoring, Seamus Powers ranks inside the top 15 in all 3 of those. If we go to anyone above him, there's nobody that ranks inside the top 15 for more than 2. Matty Fitzpatrick's birdie or better is 36th, but the rest are inside the top 5. Seamus is the only dude that I think, looking at it high ball, he's just so he's one of these guys that just gets it in the hole somehow. He tied for 30. Yeah, exactly. And that was at Torrey. So he tied for 31st at 15% ownership. I'm in on the fade again. If the putter goes rogue, 27% of the field's going to be really disappointed in his results this week. So I'm in on Seamus. Absolutely. Let's rock and roll with Seamus. And we'll quickly just dismiss Russell Knox, who is a model breaker. He typically always finds himself inside the top 20 on my model because why? He's 4th on approach in 2023 season. His weighted proximity is 7th. He's kind of actually pretty good chipping out the rough, which is interesting. Maybe that's why he plays okay here. But Russell Knox's course history is also 10th. Now, when it comes to Russell Knox, he's one of the worst top 10, top 20. I mean, in 27 starts, he's only finished inside the top 20 7% of the time. How is that going to benefit your lineups? This guy is, yes, he's $7,500, but why not go to a Matthew Neesmith who's doing that triple the rate? You got a Matthew Neesmith, slightly more owned, but hey, it is what it is. I mean, even Mark Hubbard with a knife in his foot's making more top 20 appearances than Russell Knox. So even Webb Simpson, both sitting in this top 20 rate, that's well down in the single figures, which is no bueno. So we're going to kind of scoot over Russell Knox. Everything about him, I'm done playing that game with that. So let's scoot on down to Ben Taylor, who's also one of these guys that the model is kind of trying to embrace. He's only had 10 starts on the PGA Tour, and everything about his ball striking seems wonderful. 9th off the tee, 19th on approach. Everything about that looks good. 23rd when it comes to weighted proximity numbers, and he's a really good putter when it comes to 5 to 15 feet, which is what you're kind of looking for at this kind of golf course. Now, I know the power putting can get a little squirrely, and we've seen he doesn't have that much power putting stats, so that's why he's 111th on that stat there. But bogey avoidance so far, since he showed up on tour, is 2nd. So we love ourselves some Ben Taylor. I had him in one of my favorite DFS lineups last week, and he absolutely melted down, kind of like Seamus did last year. Cheers to the Seamus meltdown. But Ben Taylor shot in the 80s on a PGA Tour event last week at the Farmers on Sunday, which really hurt my chances for week-long DFS. So I do like him this week again at $7,200. Seamus Power is next up in the model, 13th in the model, which is mainly due to his erratic approach play. As you can see here, everything about his approach is just very erratic. I don't know why he's like that, but he is what he is. Seamus Powers, I think we got a banner for him. Let's check it out. Seamus Powell, 2081 to win. I think he's 25s, 22s out there now. By the way, quick little betting tip. If you have Bet Rivers available to you, they do enhanced odds. So they'll take the outright that you have because they offer each ways. So that's why I think their odds are a little lower if you do the each ways, but they do an enhanced odds tab that kind of turns a 25 to 1 into a 28 to 1, which is very nice to have. And it's typically one of the better outright numbers on the market. So if you have a Bet Rivers book in your neighborhood, feel free to sign up there and reach out to me. I'll even send you a referral bonus. We each get $100 free. So why the hell not? Get yourselves a Bet Rivers sign up thing there and get those enhanced odds. That's where I got the 28 on him. So Seamus Powers is going to win this golf tournament. That's Power Hour. Cheers to Power Hour. Everything about his game makes the most sense. My good friend from Flag Hunting Pod, Ian, told me that he sent me Seamus's track record on Mayakoba, the RSM, the Bermuda, and here. And those are the 4 tracks that are these short coastal tracks. And he's sitting inside the top 15 in pretty much every single one of those venues, which to me just screams like he's going to contend here once again. And he's going to be our very chalky play that we're going to go to over Mavia. And he's going to be 28 to 1 to win this event. He was 16 under par until he had that meltdown. And just everything about his game, like we said, the scoring, he just gets it done. And that's what we're looking for at a venue like this. So absolutely going to play some Seamus Powers this week. Let's rock and roll. EVR. Let's see what's going on here, sweet. We got some EVR love. Let's see. Now, EVR only played in 15 of his events so far. Hasn't been playing too much. The recent performances, look at this. I think he's coming in as one of the hottest to trottest guys in the field. First in the field in 2023 strokes gained total. His weighted proximity numbers are through the roof for what we're seeing from him. He scores very nicely on par 5. So at this venue, we've got 4 of them, which I don't necessarily rate that high. I think everyone's going to be playing the par 5s as long par 4s. It's also a very random thing to say. I'm not entirely sure I believe what I just said there. But EVR's got like this really quick, and we got this. EVR is great from shorter proximities rated. Yes. Yeah. And speaking of, if you take a look at EVR on these shorter tracks, let's take a look at the specialized off the tee numbers for him. He's 10th in the field, and that's over the last 50. So if you take a look at EVR's stuff there, off the tee, setting himself up fantastically to perform. And then you get these weighted proximity numbers with the short irons. So let's go. $8,000 EVR at under 10% ownership right now. The safety is obviously a little bit of a concern. Now, I might be disclosing some information that might not be necessarily what my good friend Ron Kloss, aka PGA Splits 101, mentioned to me, that EVR has been, it's not polar greens, but on Bermuda, in South Africa, the majority of the courses are bent grass on the greens. And EVR has been working a lot on trying to get himself acclimatized to these American greens, which makes a lot of sense, right? It takes a while if you've grown up on a surface, it doesn't necessarily come to fruition right away. So he's been working hard, and I think he's been grinding away on his game. And there's a lot to like about him. He plays medium golf courses very nicely, and the ball striking is there. So we'll see what old Fred Van Rooyen can get up to this week. I love him. Let's rock and roll with some Fred. I just don't think you can go wrong with some hot to trot EVR this week, which is an exciting proposition. We haven't had a South African golfer really do too much noise making since Louis, and obviously he won't be doing that for a while. So next up, Joel Damon. Let's check him out at 45 to 1 to win this golf tournament. Joel Damon coming in with some very, very impressive recent history. When it comes to 2023 stats, he's 9th in the field in recent form. Weighted proximity numbers for old Joel is 28th. What Joel does the best, and you can see here off the tee, his baseline strokes gained is 50th in the field. But if you look at the specialized off the tee, it's 15th. And that's because his good drives gain and accuracy are 7th and 7th. He's just super precise off the tee. I think he's a recent dad. His good friend, Max Homer, just recently won at the Farmers Insurance, out-dueling John Rahm, Tony Finau, and the illustrious Sam Ryder on a Saturday. And I think he's got those vibes going. The last 3 rounds he's played were all top 10 finishes. They might have even been top 5. He almost made a hole-in-one on a par 4, which is exactly what you're looking for here. He hit his driver and it hit the flag. So if you can get yourself some Joel Damon love at 40-1, I think it's still out there. And yeah, we got some sweet spot love for Fitz Power EVR. Woo! Let's talk about it. Let's talk about some sexy stuff there. That will be kind of chalky, but like you said, you trying to hit that optimizer and you're trying to hit the optimal lineup. That's okay, right? We'll figure out the other guys when we go, and I really like all 3 of those guys upside. Joel Damon hasn't necessarily won a tournament on tour, I don't think, since the alternate event that he won. I can't remember the name of it, but he's looking like he wants to do some damage. I think he's taking care of his body. He's not drinking too many bourbons. He's exercising. He's doing his thing. I love what Joel Damon's getting up to. And 45-1 and enhanced odds on Bet Rivers makes all the sense in the world. So let's get some Joel Damon in your lives. I think it's a very affordable price. He hasn't played for a while. That's okay. Maybe his putter forgot that it hasn't played in a while and just shows up dramatically and just wins in the tournament this week. I think he played well here last year. Course history's inside the top 20. Let's go, Joel Damon. Let's go, Joel Damon. Let's get his tab out of the way so we can talk about a little bit of Robbie Shelton, who's 16th in the model, 7% owned, $7,800. I like myself some Robbie Shelton. He's one of the recent Korn Ferry Tour graduates making his way onto the PGA Tour. Guy's at ball striking beast. Plays medium course as well on the Korn Ferry Tour very nicely. The approach play is fantastic, so what he showed us so far. Very tidy around the greens and avoids the bogeys. This golf course has got cliffs that you can fall off of, and he doesn't necessarily, I don't think he's going to find himself too close to the edge of too many of those this week. And the around the green stuff's great. The approach play is great. He's just tidy. Off the tee is a bit of a problem, but it is what it is. If you take a look at the specialized off the tee stuff for under 7,200 yards, gets a little bit better. So this kind of course with the long iron play that he has, I think he'll excel at. And he's going to be under 10% owned, $7,800 for a Robbie Shelton that's 16th in the model. Nick Taylor, 17th. He's going to be a little more popular. A past winner at this event. The course history, obviously, 5th there. Approach playing around the green is what he does best. Putts very nicely on POA. And that's his thing. But I don't know if I'm going to be going to a Nick Taylor that much. I might do a little more Robbie Shelton than Nick Taylor just because we're getting down into this range. Denny McCarthy, $9,200, 9% owned. Denny, what are you up to, my brother? We've got 3 guys here that are pushing at a casual 100% for safety plus top 10 rating, which is really interesting for this far down in my model ratings. And Denny's putting it's what does him the damage. But lately, in 2023, it's been a little sketchy for the guy. And then you get himself on POA, which is not necessarily his best surface compared to his baseline putting of 5th. The POA is 14th. But, $9,200 Denny McCarthy's, I mean, do you want to play Denny or Joel, right? Like what are we leaning towards there? If you're looking at Denny for top 10, he's sitting there inside the 15% range, Joel 17% range. Why not throw a little Denny action out there? He's one of the best putters on tour. If he gets cooking, we saw what the putting stats said. It's very important this week. So if you have one of the best putters in your lineup, $9,200, it is a weird field. Throw a little Denny in there. I don't have too much to say about his game. The approach play and ball striking is not necessarily what you're looking for, especially when it comes to the weighted proximity stuff, but he does the damage when it comes to the flat stick, and that's okay. We can lean on that a little bit, sprinkle him in. Keith Mitchell, I think, is going to be a little too popular to talk about this week for a guy that, the off-the-tee stuff definitely comes from his distance and accuracy. I don't know if you can be pounding drives and be very accurate here. I think you're just going to be accurate because you can't. If you hit a massive booming drive, you're going to be through the fairway. So if you take a look, though, he still gains a lot of strokes on these specialized off-the-tee courses, which is interesting. But when it comes to approach, he's lacking baseline and recently. So that's what's going on in the par 5 scoring is where he does the majority of his damage. That's why it's $9,100. Scooting down the board, Kevin Streelman. Look at this course history for Old Streels. Second in the field. Accuracy. Reasonable approach play from these weighted proximity numbers. and he avoids bogeys inside the top quarter of the field. For a guy at $7,100, I think a Kevin Streelman is a nice salary saver here. He doesn't necessarily bang out top 20s like you would want, and the safety rating is a little low, but he's $7,100. So you gotta make your peace with those kind of things, right? So that's what's cooking with Kevin Streelman. Webb Simpson is popping like a crazy son of a gun, and we haven't seen a top 10 from Webb in his last 17 starts, which is no good. Don't want to do that. Webb Simpson is not going to be. I don't know, man. I don't think he's even played at this course before. So that's, or at least the last 4 or 5 rounds for years. Let's move on to Thomas Dietrich, $8,800, and he's going to be an interesting character because he's one of these dudes. Look at this. In his 9 starts so far, 56% of them, which is probably 5, doing some quick math there, have been top 20s. Thomas Dietrich just out here doing his thing. He's made every single cut he's played in and finished inside the top 40 in 90% of them. He's going to be roughly 10% owned at $8,800. If we do a quick little filter here, let's take a look at who he's sitting around just to understand what we're dealing with. We got Alex Smalley, who everyone's going to be obsessed with this week. Not nearly as good of a top 20 finisher. Yes, he's played a lot more events. I understand that. But D3, let's go. I think at that price, at that ownership, I think he's a great play this week. Love him for safety. I don't think he ever wins a golf tournament ever. He's one of those guys that gets to, like Mav, he gets to the top of the leaderboard and kind of ejects. So, but for a DFS play, let's rock and roll. Justin Rose, also interesting character. He's been kind of trending in the right direction lately. Played not too shabby last week. Recent form entering the week is 8th in the field. Love to see that from Jay Rose. And he's getting things done. So absolutely going to go to Justin Rose a little bit. But $9,500 is really expensive for someone like that. And, you know, the thing is, he makes a lot of birdies. So that's not a terrible play for DFS. The top 20 rate is 20th in the field, 20%. So that's an interesting concept. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. What I do want to talk about is Ben Griffin. And Ben Griffin is, if you go and take a look, I think who the heck had it as a top 40 bet is Plus Money. I think Bet Rivers had top 40 bets out there. Ben Griffin, I don't even have him in here because I haven't had the chance to bet that yet. But we are going to be diving into a Ben Griffin top 40 at even money. 12 starts this year, or 12 starts since he's been on tour in the last year. 67% of the time, he's finished inside the top 40. He's getting plus money, plus 100 for Ben Griffin top 40. If you're telling me that's a 50% strike rate there at plus money, plus 100, he's done it 67% of the time. I feel like that's a good closing line value, a good EV play, whatever you want to call it. I love myself some Ben Griffin top 40 action. Plus 100, absolutely. He's $8,600. He's a little pricey and a little high owned. But maybe we just get our exposure in the top 40 market. Scooting down the board, we got to get to some guys here. Nate Lashley, plus 140. 140 to 1 to win this tournament. He finished top 5 3 years ago at this venue. He does a lot of what you're asking for. His proximity numbers for weighted proximities, 20th in the field. That's because his wedges are just sizzling. He's a very, very good wedge player. And let's take a quick look here. Let's unhide this. If you take a look at Nate Lashley's stuff, from 100 to 125, he's 12th in the field. And that's exactly why his proximity numbers are this good. And that's why he plays well here. You take a look at his course history, it's 23rd in the field, not terrible. And he finished T7 at the Sony. So he's showing some rejuvenation too. I like his chances as a very long shot, 140 to 1. And he's going to be $7,300 and 8% owned at a course that he typically enjoys. And if you're going to be playing Showdown this week, which you should definitely be doing, there's a 3-course rotation. Monterey Peninsula is the easiest of the courses. But there are certain guys that excel and play fantastic golf on Pebble Beach. And Nate Lashley is one of the few dudes that can absolutely tear Pebble Beach apart. I'm not sure if he's played a lot of that golf course or what, but he does do good things. And yes, T10 is 0%, which no good, but we know that he plays good golf here. The top 20 is probably padded by his top, his good finishes here at Pebble in the past. So I'm definitely going to be playing some Nate Lashley. Kevin Kisner is another guy that's kind of interesting at 29th in the model, $8,500. I'm not entirely sure if he's looking forward to being at this venue. He is not necessarily played that good here before, but he's accurate off the tee and he's a really good putter. Now, when it comes to Kevin Kisner is a Bermuda specialist, I believe. That's what he does best on, and he's going to be putting on POA, which I think is going to be really, really, I don't know why he's out here this week. That's the thing. He's a West Coast guy, an East Coast guy. Sorry, he will actually play in the Florida situations, and if he's going to be out here maybe at 5% owned, well, a short golf course with Kevin Kisner, why wouldn't you want to get involved with that a little bit at least? It's an interesting play. I don't necessarily like him as a baseline performer ever, but it's weird, right? You got to try and glom onto some guys that are low owned that can show you something. And Kiz finishes inside the top 10 16% of the time, which he does the same as his top 20s. So when he plays well, it's a top 10. He's made as many top 10s as top 20s, which to me screams like when he fires, which is perfect for a GPP, especially at 5% ownership when you're looking at everybody else that's, 8,000 and above is going to be rather high owned. So I don't mind Kev as a random contrarian play at all. Let's keep scooting down the board. We're going to kind of skip these guys over here and get to Aaron Baddeley. Aaron Baddeley is 210 to 1 to win this tournament. And if you take a look at what he's been up to recently, he's 21st in the model when it comes to recent performance. Love to see that. And what he specializes in is short game. He's very good when it comes to putting. He's very good when it comes to chipping. He's the 6th best putter when it comes to baseline. He's fantastic when it comes to 5 to 20 feet putting. He's going to be rolling in a lot of birdie putts from 15 to 20 feet. He also avoids a lot of bogeys. He's just kind of that guy. And with a short game like he has, that makes a lot of sense. When you take a look at what Aaron Baddeley did back in his prime, which is like 8 to 10 years ago, he played pretty good golf here at Pebble. And the course history doesn't necessarily reflect that because it was a long time ago. He hasn't been playing that good of golf recently, but as you can see, his rejuvenated form is 21st in the field for a guy that's 4% owned, $7,100. It's going to get real glum and scary down the $7,100, $6,800 range. If you're going to have a guy that's been showing us what Aaron Baddeley has been showing us, I mean, if you take a look at Grayson Sigg, he's got the same exact recent form type vibes there with Sigg, but he's half the ownership. So I don't mind Aaron Baddeley, and he's going to be a little cheaper than Sigg too. Let's go to Aaron Baddeley, 210 to 1 to win the tournament. Definitely going to have him in some play DFS lineups. Absolutely going to go there. And then we're going to rattle off some guys. Luke Donald, $6,900, 1% owned. His proximity numbers are ridiculous. He played well here last 2 years ago, I think, or a year ago. He made the cut at least, which is what you're looking for from a guy. If you're going to look for a guy in $6,900 range, let's rock and roll with him. Kurt Kitayama is going to be an interesting character. When you look at his weighted proximity numbers, they are fantastic. And then you look at his accuracy and good drives gained and specialty stuff off the tee. It's not good at all. But let's open up this thing one more time here for Kurt, just to try and show you why I like him this week. If you go to Kurt Kitayama and you take a look at what he gets up to from 200 to 275, or at least let's go from 200 to 250. He's 11th and 7th in proximity numbers from 200 to 250 yards, which, like we mentioned in the beginning of the show, is where a lot of these tee shots are going to come from. And if you kind of have a lot of people fading old Kurt because his driver is his biggest weapon, I'm okay playing a little game theory DFS action from Kurt Kitayama's perspective when it comes to not being that super accurate off the tee, but he's actually pretty accurate if you got a long iron in his hand. So that's kind of what I'm looking at there. I'm not entirely sure what he gets up to on these shorter courses and why his whatchamacallits are pretty poor off the tee there when you get to these shorter venues, but we're going to take a gamble on him at $7,500. You're looking for upside 28% of the time. I mean, that's not too bad for a guy that's in the $7,500 range. One more dude, Nick Hardy. I don't even have a banner for him because I forgot that he was one of my outrights, but we have to get to him. He is $7,700 and he's 11% owned, which shows you that people like him. Why do people like him? Because he's third on approach in 2023 season. The guy's absolutely cooking with gas when it comes to approach recently. Let's go smallest to largest and see who Nick Hardy's hanging out with. Sung Kang has found his way into the mix here at 9 rounds worth of sample size. So he must have played some incredible golf in those 9 rounds, even though he's just got no business being here. So let's actually move Nick Hardy up to the second best approach player in the field in 2023 behind Tom Hoge. Tom Hoge is hitting his irons at an unprecedented level right now. He's absolutely one of the best iron players in the world. And Nick Hardy is $2,300 cheaper than Tom Hoge, and he does the iron thing just as good. Look at Nick Hardy's specialized off the tee numbers, 10th in the field. Love to see that from a guy that we want to bet at $7,700, and he's going to be a casual 100-1 to win this event. The problem with Nick Hardy is his short game. Around the green, hot garbage. Putting, very, very poor. But from 5 to 15 feet, which is the key number when it comes to putting, a lot of putts come from that range. And that's where you can see the biggest difference in the good putters is from 5 to 15 feet. He's actually pretty good. And a lot of the time when you see a guy who these proximity numbers for Nick Hardy have changed drastically since the end of the season. He got a bit of a break, had an opportunity to probably touch base with his coach or find someone to help him with his irons. And man, oh man, have they freaking taken off. And often you see these guys that have put a lot of work into a different part of their game. The other part of their game starts lacking. And when you look at Nick Hardy's putting, it's actually typically very good. He has been a very good putter prior to his irons getting good. Now, is that got to do with the fact that he's not very good at converting birdie putts? Or is it got to do with the fact that he's been spending far less time on the putting surfaces practicing and hitting irons? Now these irons are absolutely cooking with gas. We can expect some putting regression to his baseline maybe if he spends a bit more time on the greens now that he's figured out his ball striking, which I do think if you're going to practice one or the other, hit the irons all day, folks. So I love it. And you can see anyone, you put a jabroni, you put me, you put anybody on a green, they can sink a putt. If you put me, you put a jabroni, you put anyone from 150 yards out, it's going into the gorge, folks, the majority of the time. Nick Hardy is going to be hitting it to 5 feet. And like that's why you have these guys that are on Team No Putt on your roster, because anybody can putt well for a given period of time. It's one of the most volatile stats. We've seen the most, like Colin Morikawa, just has the craziest putting spike weeks ever, and that's when he wins those tournaments. So we're looking for the same thing from Nick Hardy. Off the tee, on approach, everything about his game looks phenomenal. So that's kind of why I'm liking some Nick Hardy. Going to rattle off a few more names before we get out of here. Ryan Armour, one of these short course specialists, accuracy and good drives gained, 1 and 4th in the field. You know, the weighted proximity numbers, he's a very good wedge player, 24th in the field. So Ryan Armour at $6,700 if you're looking for a salary saver there. Let's rock and roll with some Ryan Armour. He's a very good wedge player, avoids the bogeys quite nicely, but from a DFS angle, the birdie or better percentages are rather lacking. But if you're looking for $6,700, it is what it is. Justin Lower, he's one of my guys that look at this, folks, $7,200, 7% owned. And he's the 14th best player in the field recently since 2023. Putts well, weighted proximity numbers for that's Austin Smotherman. For Justin Lower, it's 16th in the field, weighted proximity numbers. And that's baseline, folks. And then you get the short game. Putting, chipping, very nice stuff out of the rough. The around the green game, it's to be desired, you know. But I've seen this guy hack it around the greens. He has malfunctions. And that's what makes him risky. But, you know, we're down in the model rankings here, and he's one of the few guys that's sitting in double digits, him and Trey Molinax, who I don't think is necessarily going to be that good of a course fit at this venue, although the course history for Trey Molinax at $8,100 is inside the top 20. So let's throw Trey Molinax in the mix here. We'll play some Trey and Justin Lower together. Why the hell not? And then one of my favorite guys that I've just been riding and and hoping for the best is Austin Cook. Look at this approach, recent plays, very nice. It's not necessarily matching up to his weighted proximity numbers, and his short game is hot garbage. But if you look at his power putting, it's a lot better than his typical. Where the hell are we? The more bourbon I've had, the less these cells are lining up for me. But 113th in general putting, 60th when it comes to putting on power. So Austin Cook might be a little sneaky play at $6,900 at 1% owned. You always need one of those guys in your lineups to try and get you all the way through there. And that's about everybody that I kind of lined up here. So that's what's cooking. Don't forget the sponsor of this podcast is rotoballer.com. I put out tons and tons of articles out there for you guys. Breaking 100. I do a little course look ahead on Sundays. I do a stat buffet on a Monday. I do the Breaking 100 thing. I do DFS value plays. I've got a FanDuel article. If you play FanDuel DFS, I've got an article for you there. Just everything is fantastic at Rotoballer. Use the code Maniac for 10% off if you sign up for our premium stuff. You can jump in the Discord. Every time I spot a nice top 20 or a matchup, I put it in there before the podcast comes out, before the article comes out tomorrow morning. It's just a great community as well that we're building over there nicely. It's fun. And if you do the whole package, it's like less than $20 a month for me and Spencer, aka T of Sports stuff. You got Joe Nicely stuff out there. Just everything you could wish for. It's awesome. And Sweet Spot, dude, if you aren't following Sweet Spot DFS on Twitter and following his optimizer on YouTube, go check him out too. He's just a fantastic person. Sia Najad also, I don't think needs a shout out at all, but he's also a fantastic follow if you're not doing that already. Thank you guys for being in the chat with me this week. I mean, what a fun time. Seamus Hour, Power Hour. It was a good time. Didn't get through all the bourbon. The lines were getting squiggly, so I kind of took it easy there. But let's have a good week. It's going to be fun. Got a bunch of jabronis. Let's enjoy the broadcast. And let's have ourselves a week, folks. Chat to you guys next week for whoever event that is. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be a fun one. Cheers. Linda Q.